Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the webinar, Building Stronger Pipelines, Advancing IET and Apprenticeship Programs Through Language and Employer Partnerships. Now I'm going to turn it over to our partners at Engine.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Bethel. Really looking forward to today's discussion. My name is Tad Wamister. I'm representing the Engine team, and this topic of developing pipelines for IET programs, apprenticeships, support services for internationally trained professionals is incredibly important. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy to have the opportunity to share more about Engine and to chat with two amazing partners from Brevard Adult and Community Education and Austin Community College. I want to let them introduce themselves. So I'll turn it over to Rebecca and Eric.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Kohler. I'm the Assistant Director at Brevard Adult Education in Brevard County, Florida.
And I am Rebecca Stanley. I'm a Career Pathways Coordinator at Austin Community College in Austin, Texas.
And as you can see, I'm Tad Wamister. I'm Senior Director for Partnerships with a focus on workforce and government programs. I've been a part of this team for about 6.5 years, and it is amazing to see all of the work that is going on to support adult learners, especially those who are English as a second language, pursuing career pathways and getting back to using the skills that they have. I want to first set the stage and help us to understand why this is so important. These statistics come from the Migration Policy Institute. Approximately 1 in 10 working age adults in the US are English language learners. So this is a growing and important percentage of our workforce and the talent pools that we are supporting. One challenge is that we're not meeting the need for many reasons. We all know there's not enough funding for adult education. Many learners are working. They may have multiple jobs, irregular work schedules. So it is a challenge to participate in some strictly, face-to-face programming. And so that's why I'm really excited to hear about the use of distance education, distance learning technology, to reach more learners and to bring them the curriculum they need related to their career path. So for those of you who don't know who Engine is, we are an organization, a registered B Corp, with the mission of breaking down English as a barrier. We do this work through a web and mobile platform, multilingual coaching that helps people prepare for jobs, for careers, for career training. We want to bridge the gap. And so this work does take place amongst many different stakeholders. We are seeing employers getting more involved through apprenticeship training opportunities, partnering with community colleges. I know adult education programs across the country are innovating. Again, building those earn and learn apprenticeship models, delivering workplace literacy programs to help people to grow their careers from their employer and make sure they understand the safety and training considerations. And we are seeing more workforce development programs that are realizing that multilingual learners, English language learners, are an important component of the clients they serve. We see adult education programs increasingly moving towards IET offerings, where learners are earning a credential while they're also filling any basic or foundational skill gaps. You're going to hear about the work with internationally trained professionals at Austin Community College, which is a leader in this area, not only in Texas, but nationally. Engine has been privileged to participate in many workplace English, workplace literacy programs. We're seeing amazing work going on in Maine, working with their Chamber of Commerce. And again, we do see an ongoing focus on apprenticeship out of the Department of Labor. And that's where pre-apprenticeship programs can really help to build up the pipeline of qualified students for those training opportunities. This image helps to illustrate what Engine is. We want to be a bridge from general English language learning over to workforce development training programs, those apprenticeship or IET opportunities. We use very specific, vocational English. So some of the courses that we have in the works are English for custodians, English for energy efficiency technicians. We recently added English for certified healthcare environmental services technicians. So sometimes these are very niche roles, but it's important to have that vocational English so that they are able to succeed in that training offering. So I mentioned Engine is a web and mobile platform. We really focus on the needs of the individual learner. The platform is adaptive and uses different AI technology to make sure that learners get the content at their level that's aligned with their goals and interests and can help them to transition into career training or CTE. So we build those career-specific courses. I mentioned that healthcare environmental services. We also recently added English for retail management. A good number of next generation energy jobs. We just added English for weatherization. So we're always adding new content that aligns with in-demand credentials. And of course, adult education programs can see what their learners are doing. They can see their time on task and whether or not they're completing successfully that course, like English for medical assistants. We also at Engine talk about English as a workforce skill. In all of these different sectors or professions, when a learner is bilingual or multilingual, they bring so many valuable skills to the workplace in terms of communication with patients, communication with coworkers. As someone improves their English skills and has mastery of the language, they can take on supervisory roles or client-facing roles. And again, connect with those training opportunities to earn a credential that will help them to get that job upgrade. Why use technology? Well, not just for technology's sake, but there's a lot of things that technology can help us to do, including reaching more learners, removing those barriers of time or schedule or transportation even. It also allows for learners to get more of that individualized, personalized approach. We also see, especially in workplace English programs where there's a use of technology, you can measure, what people are doing by those course completion metrics. You know if they're ready for that next step. Also, for folks who do have education and training from their home country, they may be able to move more rapidly through a competency-based model. And lastly, use technology to teach technology. Over 90% of jobs right now require digital skills, and that number is increasing. So it's important that people get expertise in using multiple platforms because they will use multiple platforms at work. So these Engine courses can be used as on-ramps to credential programs, IETs, one of them on the screen, English for Early Childhood Education. This can be used as an on-ramp to a Childhood Development Associate Training Program, but there's also content for beginners related to childcare so that people can step up to that career training. In healthcare, this has been our largest focus area. So our healthcare pathways can really help bridge into those trainings. I see this being used in pre-apprenticeship programs, as well as some of the topics like NCLEX to support foreign trained nurses who are pursuing relicensure in the US. So we see this being used in healthcare training programs that are employer-based, but also to build up those pipelines. Engine's been doing a lot more in the skilled trades. I was just speaking to a program in Massachusetts that uses our English for welding content to provide that very specific English so that someone can then complete a welding training and get a good job. So I hope it's been useful just learning a little bit about Engine. I'm of course going to put my email in the chat, and I would love to connect with anyone who's on today's meeting to talk about how Engine can support the career pathways for their learners. So Rebecca, I will pass it over to you, and please just tell me when you'd like me to advance the slides for you.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rebecca Stanley. I am a coordinator for the Career Pathways program here in Austin, Texas at Austin Community College. And I'm excited that Tad invited ACC to be a part of this presentation, and hopefully I have some good insights or ideas for you all to use with your programs when it comes to building stronger pipelines to employment for your students. You can go ahead to the next one, Tad. So just a quick overview, because we know adult education looks different all across the country. So this is just kind of a quick overview of our Career Pathways program within the adult education department. All of our classes combine academic learning, career preparation, and we offer a bunch of wraparound supports to help students, our adult learners, move towards a rewarding career. All of our classes are free for students, which obviously is a big benefit and is a huge draw for them. A couple of the different opportunities we offer. The first one is our certificate programs or our IET programs. Students can earn their industry credential while building their academic and career skills. I'll go a little bit more into specifics about those in a little bit. One that I won't really talk about much today, but we do have is Level Up and Ability to Benefit, which helps students transition into college level classes, hopefully towards an associate's degree at ACC. And then finally, we have our Internationally Trained Professionals program, which we always refer to as ITP. I'll spend quite a bit of time talking about that program today. Even though it doesn't neatly fit into IETs or apprenticeship programs, it acts as a really good kind of bridge program for our students who are looking to use their education from another country in a US career. Next slide, Tad. So the ITP program is one of our most popular programs within Career Pathways. All of our students in this program have really strong educational backgrounds. They're highly qualified, usually have many years of professional experience in their home country. They just need a little bit of extra support to restart their careers in the US. About 40% of our ITP students will go into either an IET program at ACC or another certificate program through our continuing education department. So ITP is kind of the starting place for boosting their resume, updating their skills, gaining confidence, or just generally kind of figuring out what their path to employment will look like here in the US before moving into additional training or even directly into the workforce. So we developed a curriculum over the last couple of years. We've really increased it and strengthened it to kind of cover the essential knowledge of job readiness and the job search in the United States. We have 3 classes within this program. Our regular internationally trained professionals class teaches like the general US job search process, what a resume in the United States should look like, how to write a cover letter, preparing for interviews, like the most common interview questions, general workplace culture, and some professional English skills. So lots of topics in an 8-week class, but it keeps it pretty general for all industries and backgrounds. The intensive language training class focuses specifically on TOEFL preparation for our students who are looking to apply and enroll in higher education, or who maybe need the TOEFL scores for an industry licensure. And then last, our most recent addition, it's been around for a little bit at this point, but our intro to ITP class, we realized there was a pretty high need for additional English language support for our ITP students who have the qualifications, but not so much the English skills. And so those students will start in our intro to ITP class, and they'll get kind of a basic entry level overview of all those same topics covered in the regular ITP class, but there's a stronger emphasis on English language acquisition during that course too. And then as a part of all of those ITP classes, and then even some of our IET classes, we provide access to Engine that Tad was talking about earlier, the online platform specifically for upskilling and gaining those additional language skills for the workforce. Our students love Engine so much. Many of them do come from our ESL program, but unfortunately, the demand for our ESL classes is much higher than we're able to keep up with. And so Engine can help fill those gaps and support the workforce readiness skills of the students. So it allows them to take that kind of general career readiness knowledge from our ITP class and then really focus in on their industry or their area of interest to gain confidence with their English skills. I know there's probably lots of other details, or maybe you're wondering about other specifics of the program. I'd be happy to answer those questions via email today. I'm trying to keep it as general as possible so everybody has time to speak. So I'll keep it at that for now. Tad, if you want to go to the next slide. So wraparound supports are a really important part of our program, all of our programs within Career Pathways, and really helps to keep students moving through that path to employment and help them be equipped for that. So there's lots of different ones. Some that I'll touch on today are translation and evaluation assistance. So our students that come with education from other countries with transcripts, diplomas, and other languages, we help connect them to reliable agencies and translation evaluation companies so that their education can be recognized by more employers and more institutes of higher education. We typically are able to do translations for a lot of our students, our ITP students specifically. Evaluations kind of depends on funding, but whenever possible, we try to provide those when our students actually need them for their career journey. Some general career pathway navigation. We have adult education advisors specifically for our adult education students, but we also have coordinators that serve more like career navigators. So that would include myself for ITP students. And then we have another coordinator for workforce integration specifically. And that can help students kind of figure out which direction they need to take. We can help them set their goals, understand the industry in the US, or if it's a new industry to them, even if they are from the United States, and then identify their next steps to keep them progressing. And then also our workforce integration coordinator, her name is Danielle. She works a lot with individual students to take the resumes, the cover letters that they have worked on in their class, whether that's ITP or an IET class. And then she can work with them for that more individualized attention and get that ready for job applications. So a lot of these things seem to really make a big difference between students just kind of finishing the class and then stalling out there. They have that relationship, that connection with our staff to help them keep moving forward towards employment, into employment, or maybe even trainings. There's some links there to some of the lists of recommended companies for evaluations or translations, if that's something your students need. And then the career pathways guides from World Education Services are always a great resource too. Next. And then continued support to build skills. I think there's a couple bullets there, Tad. You can click through all. Yeah, perfect. So beyond their classes, right? That one initial class that they start in, then students might either want to or need to keep studying to refresh their knowledge, maybe to get more familiar with the US systems or industry. Maybe they've been out of the workforce for a while, so they need a recent certification to boost their resume, things like that. Outside of ITP, we also have the IET programs. So I said I was going to mention some of these. It varies from term to term or semester to semester, but some of the ones that our program offers are paraeducator, accounting, which comes with a QuickBooks certification, office clerk, HVAC, logistics, entrepreneurship and small business. And then the healthcare programs vary, but CNA and phlebotomy are the most common that we have. So again, students can start directly into those classes if they know what they're looking for or what path they want to go on. If they start in our ITP program, then our career navigators and coordinators can help them direct them into the one that is the best fit for them if that's something that they need. We also have an ambassador program. That's the closest thing that our program has to an apprenticeship. But generally what that looks like is each semester, we have 2 students that we hire for part-time work to gain US work experience, working with the Career Pathways team. That helps them refresh their professional skills, maybe gain some references here in the US, or just generally kind of strengthen their social capital and their professional network. And then last thing on here is our student networking events. So we host these probably 2 or 3 a year, and we invite all of our current but also former students. Typically we do ITP students, but you could do this, of course, with any group or any class of students. And that helps connect them to each other. And then the ultimate goal for these events is to help them, build their social capital, practice their networking skills in a low stakes environment, and then transfer those skills and that knowledge into maybe a more professional environment once their confidence is up there. So, and of course, networking, we know, sometimes is even more important than like the skills or credentials. You have to kind of know somebody to wiggle into the employment. Next. Okay, and then last but not least on here are employer connections. So, the final step in the pipeline to employment is connecting the students to the actual jobs. And with our program, this is mostly the work of our workforce integration coordinator. That's Danielle, who I mentioned earlier. She has really worked hard to build some relationships and partnerships with different employers to connect students directly to them when they're ready or when they're finished with their courses. So some of our most successful strategies have been partnering with the other departments at Austin Community College to hire our students. We have we have a lot of students from our ITP class who work with the adult education program. They might be teachers within adult education. They teach our ITP courses, which is always great. But then also in other areas of ACC, the continuing education department has some people teaching with them or working as like administrative assistants. There's a few accountants that came out of our classes. So there's a big variety there. and we're always happy to see them walking around ACC campuses too. We also do host some employer networking events and kind of like meet and greet type things with different industries. Most of those events are with local school districts, and that's really great for our paraeducator IET classes, our ITP students with education backgrounds or teaching backgrounds. But also school districts hire more than just people working in the classroom. So they might need HVAC technicians, they might need office clerks, they, have a variety of different positions as well. So that really is a really great resource and connection for many of our students. And then even like there are sometimes like some financial institutions, credit unions, banks that will come into the accounting class. Some HVAC and logistics related employers will come and do presentations in those classes as well. So students can learn more about the industry directly from somebody working in the industry. And then of course have that connection themselves. And then the last thing that I'll touch on is we give our students like a survey to then use that to make targeted referrals. So Danielle has some good connections with a local hospital, and sometimes they'll reach out to her and say, oh, we're looking for somebody to work the front desk who is bilingual in Korean, and we would really love if they had a medical background. She can go to that survey and kind of filter through our students to see who fits those requirements, and then reach out directly to that student and make that connection that way. So she does have people, it's mostly hospitals and the credit union, or a couple credit unions that will reach out to her, specifically looking for students. So anyways, a lot of information in a short amount of time, but overall, that's what our Career Pathways program does to help boost the employability of our students and keep them all moving along that path to employment. So I think I'm turning it over to Eric now.
Well, Rebecca, before Eric gets started, we did have a question.
Oh yeah.
Someone asked about the internationally trained professionals. Does it require a minimum level of English to participate, or does this also include ESL?
Good question. So we used to require intermediate or above level English. We say our classes are not specifically ESL classes. It's not specifically learning English. So usually it's good to be taking ESL classes either before or during that class. But we did add our intro to ITP class within probably about a year and a half ago, and that one allowed us to start taking students with beginner levels of English. But again, it's not going to be enough English language instruction to, make up for an ESL class. It's better to use in conjunction with. So there's a tiny bit of English language, but it's mostly in the context of all of those career topics and professional English skills. It's a separate class. Our ESL department is a whole different program has many more students. So most of them come from there. Hopefully that was a good answer. Enough information.
Well, thanks so much, Rebecca. What an amazing presentation of the programs that are offered at ACC.
Thanks.
Let's pass it over for now. And I encourage anyone, if you have questions, put them into the chat, just so that the panelists can see that. Okay, Eric, I'll pass it over to you, and you just, again, let me know when I should advance the slides.
All right. So again, my name is Eric Kohler. I'm the Assistant Director at Brevard Adult Education in Brevard County. All of our career pathways are IET, so it might be a little different than some other places. But if you're in a career path, you're also going to be in an IET. Next slide, please. So how we collaborate for our IETs, we have local market needs. So we meet with career source partnerships. We have living on the Space Coast. We have a Space Coast, collaboration as well. They help us identify what standards we need so we can make sure we're having the right credentials for our students so they can get a job outside of completing our programs. We have partnerships for reentry programs with the Operation New Hope. We get MOUs with our industrial partners. I'm going to kind of talk about a lot about our pre-apprenticeships. So all of our pre-apprenticeships are registered in the state of Florida through the Department of Education. Other states might be different, but Florida does require us to go through the Department of Education. Then each one of those partnerships, we have an MOU with an actual apprenticeship in Florida to help guide that transition if a student wants, after they get the credentials with us, to transfer into an apprenticeship or maybe just try to go into the job market. Our pre-apprenticeship committee meetings with those stakeholders happen at least twice a year. Sometimes we have them more often if we're having different cohorts in at different times. On Thursdays, we have a thing called Career Live. We have industry speakers come in, talk about job openings or career choices for our students to transition to a different path, which usually align with our pre-apprenticeships or any other industry certification programs that we got going on. And we are still part of our public schools, so we do have some partnerships with there. We go to events, career events, and we go to career events with our local chambers as well. All right, next slide. So like I mentioned, here's a sampling of what we offer for our pre-apprenticeship programs. They are registered with the state of Florida. There are required hours and certain credentials that go with them. And I'll kind of go through each one and kind of the success of each one on the next couple slides. Next slide, please. So our SolidWorks program is a 9-month program. It's 160 hours. They can walk away with several credentials, certified product technician and certified SolidWorks. They also work on a thing called My Florida Ready Work, which helps build their soft skills, digital skills, employability skills, because there's a big need. I think you've all heard from everyone, the soft skills, employability skills, the need in our workforce. And so this is just another credential that is recognized by the governor of Florida. And so that's incorporated into their programs as well. Currently, since our program started, we have had several complete. So we had 14 actually complete with their SolidWorks credentialing in this program itself, and several other CPTs on top of that. All right, next slide. Our pre-apprenticeship construction program is another 9-month program. It's 185 hours. If you look at the certification outcomes, this one offers a lot. So when they go under pre-apprenticeship construction, they can go in different pathways like HVAC, plumbing, electrical. So those are little niches underneath each one that they can go on. Just a little bit of success with this one. We've had over 17 people with industry certs in that CPT world, 32 certifications in CPR, 32 certifications in OSHA 10. And once they complete these, they actually get a certification through the state of Florida too, saying they completed a pre-apprenticeship program along with all the other ones. All right, next slide. Our cybersecurity is a 6-month program. It's 120 hours. Again, all of these are IETs as well. We have English language learners as well as general population in here, either trying to work on their GED, language skills, or adult high school diploma. Currently, it's switching from CompTIA ITF Plus to CompTIA Tech, but we have given out 22 CompTIA ITF certifications just to bridge that gap into the cybersecurity world and working with our apprenticeship partners. Okay, next slide. Our pre-apprenticeship logistics program is a 6-month program. It's 120 hours. The individuals will take 2 tests, a CLA test, Certified Logistics Associate, and a CLT test, Certified Logistics Technician. They have to pass the CLA to get to the CLT. So some of our students, especially like English language, they might have to go into an extension. So we're allowed to extend one more cohort if they need to make sure they're successful in their career choice. As of right now, we have over 16 certifications in the CLT, and then we had a last cohort. If you see the bottom picture, that was one of them that was geared towards our ESOL students, and we had a perfect 8 out of 8 pass all their exams in our last cohort. So we were really happy and proud about that class. All right, next slide. Then we have our parapro IET. There's always a need for paraprofessionals in our education. Like I said, we have a partnership with our county, so it's almost a direct pipeline of them completing their paraprofessional certifications and going straight into the workforce. As of this last cohort, since we started this, we've had over 70 certifications completed in paraprofessional, and many of those have chosen to go into teaching. And some of us went into college to get their actual teaching license instead of being a paraprofessional. All right, next slide. And here are some of our newly added IETs. We just completed one of our healthcare ones. This one is actually focused on our ESOL students, and we've had 6 out of the 7 actually set for the CNA exam and passed the exam. Our pharmacy technician program has just started, so I don't have any data on that one, but we are excited to help students transition from not having pharmacy tech licensures to a licensure. And then our truck driver heavy, we actually wrote our own apprenticeship. So we have a apprenticeship in truck driving to get their CDL A, B, and C, but this is a pre-apprenticeship program, which if they just do the pre-apprenticeship, they will walk out with their CDL Class C license. And next, I think that might be my last slide. Yep.
Thanks, Eric. I do want to see if anyone has questions related to the presentation. Please put those in the chat. Always, wanting to continue this conversation. It's amazing, Eric, how many IETs Brevard has that they're offering and expanding those topics or those credentials. How long has Brevard been up to, IET programs? It seems like you guys are pretty advanced in offering.
I think we've had our pre-apprenticeship since 2019 to start with our construction. As of recently, our IETs have ramped up in the last 2.5 years, I believe. So the state of Florida only allows you to write. It used to you could write them all the time, but now you can write it for a new IET in December and March for the next semester. So we have more coming down the pipeline, but we're always looking to expand, and so we can just benefit, the population of people who are looking for credentials and getting into the workforce.
Yeah, I do know that there's more, more of an emphasis or an ask for adult education programs to really align with the in-demand credentials of their community. So using those like hot job lists to determine, what are the next IETs that are going to be offered. There is a question: how long is the pharmacy tech program? Do you know the length of that program?
It's 300 hours. We have it at 6 months, but it is kind of a self-paced part of it, so it could take up to 9 months on that one.
Okay, so 6 to 9 months. I do believe that the presentation will be shared as a follow-up. And yeah, thanks, Steve, for putting in. Any other questions for Eric or Rebecca?
Hey, we did have a question for Eric in the Q&A from Anonymous, and Anonymous asks, how do you guide students or prospects to know which program's the best fit? Is there an assessment or something beforehand that measures their skills, talents, or potential for this?
So we use TABE and CASAS testing to kind of see where their skill levels are, but we also try to we go recruiting everywhere, local chamber events, tabletops at football games. So we recruit in, explaining our programs, and then they go through registration on our website, picking several programs, and we bring them in for a pre-conference or pre-assessment, discuss, are they sure this is what they want to do? And if that's not, maybe we can gear them towards another option. So there's several different ways we do it, and pre-screening, and then just being open and attending everything possible, explaining what we have.
Let's see, Eric, the next question from Sarah Smith is, any tips on connecting with employers to set up apprenticeships?
The state of Florida has a list of all apprenticeship listings. I don't know what all states have. So I know that most of these connections have started before I even started there, and we just keep them alive by continuously communicating with our apprenticeship sponsors. But we're always looking for new sponsors, so I always keep my eye on that list that the state runs. So I guess that would be my best suggestion.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Next question from Ann Savino. It says, Eric, did you say that that those that complete a pre-apprenticeship program have direct entry into an RAP? Are your RAP employer partners part of the development work? In parentheses, pathway vision.
Yeah, well, with our partners, we always discuss with them, do they have a direct entry? The answer to that is no. They have I guess, a leg up kind of into our apprenticeship. That's why we have those sponsors. And some of our students, when they complete with their credentials, they actually just want to go into the workforce in general. So, being in open communication with our sponsors is a thing. And when our apprenticeships can interview them, they may or may not accept them, but it does give them a leg up.
Okay, thank you. And next question for Eric is from Elizabeth Ellington. And she says, Eric, for cybersecurity, do you use Ed2Go or another online program or in person?
We teach that in person. We use CompTIA. It's going to be CompTIA Tech Plus this coming semester because CompTIA ITF no longer is an option.
Okay, so thank you everyone who's asking some good questions in the chat. Another one's coming from Pamela Flagg, and she asks, Eric, how do you get that list that you referenced?
If you just Google Florida Department of Education apprenticeship, I think it's apprenticeship sponsor. I would have to double check that. But if you just Google Florida Department of Education apprenticeship sponsor, it should give you access to that list.
Okay, so questions keep coming, Eric, and we have one from Francis, and she asks, are the programs credit-based courses at the community college or non-credit courses?
If it's on the master credential list, they have a direct transfer over to the community college. So depending on what industry certification you're looking at, if it's on a master credential list, there is a connection.
Okay, so let's see. Oh, there may be some more questions in the Q&A. Patricia asks, Eric, I may have missed it, but is there a certain level of education students must have to participate or qualify?
The answer is no. That's part of our IET, so we're hoping that we can help get that GED or the high school diploma while going through. If it is an English learner, I think like Rebecca said, there are some different levels that we might have a pre-IET if they're not at that level yet to do the rigor of those industry certifications. We want the students to be successful. So it all depends on the level of where they're at, so we can do a pre-IET leading into an IET. So there isn't no minimum, I guess.
Okay, well, so I think we're in good shape for questions so far. Eric, is there anything else that if you were thinking, man, if I had a few more minutes, I would add this? Do you have anything else that you want to add or maybe touched on briefly that you want to expand on more?
I don't at the moment if there's any more questions in the chat box. I think there was a question about if I'm going to be at ACE conference in Florida. The answer is yes. I'll be there presenting as well. So I don't know who asked that question, but I did see it pop through.
All right, so Eric will be there at ACE. Very good. So, Rebecca, what about you? Anything else that you'd like to add about your work with internationally trained professionals that now that we have a few more minutes that you could expand on?
I don't think so either. I feel like if I start expanding, there's just so many so many details I could go on forever. But I would be, if anybody wants to email me or meet outside of this, I would be happy to go over more specifics.
All right, well, that's great. And I'm so glad we have programs like internationally trained professionals because I remember back in the dark ages where we just put them in ABE classes, and even though if they had extensive education in their native country, they were really very not getting the resources and the services and the help they needed. So, thank you for providing this great service for our internationally trained professionals.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning. I usually do like to give a a PSA of if they have a degree from another country, they do not need to be taking GED or high school equivalency classes. A lot of them think that they need to, or somebody, my cousin told me I needed to, my friend said this is where I need to be, and that's not typically the case. So, if you come across anybody who is an internationally trained professional, let them know their education does count. It might maybe need a translation or something like that, but if they just confidently say, I have a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering from Mexico, that will get them farther than a high school or a GED would. I always tell them, you already went to high school, you have, maybe multiple years of university experience. You don't need to do high school here in the US again. Yeah, and Mika, she was with our HSE program. She's in the chat too. Yeah, reiterating that.
Yeah, Rebecca, that's great advice. For ITPs, you want to figure out how they can remove any barrier. English might be a barrier, but then to stack on top of it, and prepare for relicensing work. They may need to take the TOEFL. There's so many worthwhile activities that will build upon their experience.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I want to thank both Eric and Rebecca for today's conversation, for sharing a little bit more about what they do at Brevard and at Austin. And on behalf of Engine, I want to thank everyone for joining in today, for supporting COABE and promoting the value of adult education programs across the country. We know how valuable they are. So thanks for sharing more about the valuable programs you offer and the impact on your students, because it's really life-changing.
And Tad, thank you and Engine for your partnership with COABE. Thank you for sponsoring the webinar today. And I want to add my thanks to Rebecca and Eric. Thank you for an outstanding webinar today. And we're looking forward to seeing everyone at our next COABE webinar next week. And again, you will receive a certificate within 24 hours, and the webinar recording will be available. So thank you all so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you at a future COABE webinar.